Yeah, that's going to fit right nice. That's very, very nice. I'm happy the way that came out. Welcome back to Great Granddad's Chair. So, getting ready to epoxy the new leg ends onto the chair itself. This is going to be the process, how I do it. I'll set this up with the epoxy in place, put the rocker in place and clamp it all down, and it holds it nicely in place and it's aligned well. Once it's cured, I can take this out and continue on. Epoxy tip, let me take these apart. When you're gluing end grain with epoxy, wet these with unthickened epoxy first. That's both ends, here and here. Why? Well, we're dealing with end grain. And if you just put the wood flour epoxy mix on here, the grain's going to soak up the liquid epoxy out of the wood flour and could weaken the joint. Does it really matter in this chair? I don't think so. But I'm going to mix some up clear, and then we'll just 1 squirt of each. It's overkill. I'll have more than I need. There we go. This is MAS epoxy I've mentioned in other videos. It's a 2-to-1 mix, and the pumps take care of that. You know, I've been hearing really good things about Total Boat, but I've been using MAS for years. Used it in boat building, used it in furniture projects, and all that good stuff. So get it mixed up real well. Okay, so let's come down and I'll show you exactly what I mean. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the ends of the feet themselves. You can see the epoxy soaking up into that wood. And doesn't matter if it gets in the hole, I can clean it out with a drill bit. And I'll sand off the excess here, so I can get the stain and finish on. Tricks you learn. There. So those are painted, and now take care of the legs. And I don't have to wait for this to cure completely, but I'm going to wait till it's, you know, close to it. At least it's got to the point where it's kind of the plastic state, if that makes any sense, because epoxy goes through different phases. All right, so that's done, and this is my clock right here. I'll know when it's done. To reiterate from previous videos, epoxy does not dry. Epoxy cures. It's an exothermic reaction. You mix part A and part B together, they react, it heats up. It's really not as hot as you can feel. I mean, it heats up, and the part A and part B cures once you mix it together. Exothermic. If you want to see a really great demonstration of that, take some West epoxy or something like that, take a small cup, put 4 pumps of hardener, 4 pumps of the epoxy, and mix it all up and put it outside in the driveway and watch what happens. Yeah, it'll smoke. But anyway, these have to cure now, and do a little sanding afterwards, and then when we come back, we'll mount these in place and with epoxy mixed with wood flour. And we're back. It's almost like I never left. So now I'm going to mix up the epoxy and the wood flour. In previous videos, if you've watched my previous videos, you've seen me do this before. I'm going to do 2 squirts of each, because I'm not sure. I mean, it's probably going to be way too much, but sometimes you're not sure what you need. So the first thing to do is to mix the epoxy up. Okay, the epoxy is mixed up. Now we add the wood flour. And I've shown this before on camera. It is, in fact, wood flour. And I want a consistency of peanut butter, or a little thicker than peanut butter, because I don't want this to run at all. So I'm going to mix a bunch of the wood flour with it. Peanut butter. So the first thing I'm going to do is the dowels. A little bit on the dowels. Not a whole lot. Place those in there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It needs a little bit more on that one. Okay. Yeah. And then this one. This has got a long shelf life. I mean, it's not going to cure very quickly, so I've got time. A lot more time than if I was using a CA glue or of course, or a PVA glue. So put that in there. There, now I've got a little squeeze out, which is okay. So now I put a bit in here, and a bit on the surface that's going to take that. I don't want too much. I don't want too much squeeze out because it's difficult to get the squeeze out off. If it squeezes out, I mean, I can deal with it. It's just a pain in the butt. Okay, that should do it. And we put it down on the dowel like that. Give it a spin. Squeeze off the excess. Oops. The same over here. I mean, there'll be a little bit I'll have to sand off, but that doesn't need to be restained. That's the thing. All right, now, this is the alignment tool. So, make sure I got clean lines down there. Clean here. I know I should have the camera close up so you can see this, but I'm just working rather quickly. I know I don't have to, but I'm doing it anyway. All right, so now don't need a lot of pressure, just because epoxy will hold things nice and tight once it's cured. Go down here a little bit. There we go, that's better. How's that one? This one. Of course, this is not glued in. That comes later. That's what I'm using as the alignment tool to make sure that the slots are aligned correctly on the legs. So now we wait for this to cure. And again, this is my clock. It's going to be hours. So we'll pick it up again. Why am I saying that in a continuous video? We'll pick it up again when these are cured and I'm ready to move on to the next step, which is putting the new legs on. Success! The new leg pieces are epoxied in place. They're not going anywhere. The rocker fits nicely, and this is about the position the rocker fits in. Here's the other one. Put this one in as well. I've got the old one to tell me where that goes, but that's about the rocker position, not that far from the end. Got to sand the rockers, clean up some spots on them, and get them ready for finish. And then I'm going to glue them in the same way. I'm going to be using epoxy. Debating whether or not I want to put a dowel in the inside here into it. I think the epoxy should be enough. Hell, it holds boats together. So that's the next step. Let's do some sanding and then we'll come back and we'll glue these in place. Oh, a quick note. If any of you are wondering how this chair is sitting out so far from the table saw with just two little clamps on it, Izzy Swan's table saw extension. Link in the description. Let's glue, or epoxy I should say, the rockers in place. Now I have the original good rocker, and it marks that open spot where it was attached to the leg marks how far back this leg has to be on, this rocker has to be on the legs. And I put a piece of tape at that demarcation point so I know just exactly where these need to go. I've already mixed the epoxy, peanut butter stain again. So let's do this one first. Going to use an acid brush this time. Now, place the tape here, slide it in place. All right. That's one down. I'm going to clamp these tight as well. The legs tight as well, so that they have good adhesion all the way around. Now we place this one. If there's any squeeze out, I just wipe it off, and then whatever's left marking the wood, it sands off pretty easily down to where I can get to some grain again for putting the stain on. All right. Okay, those are in place now. Now I want to get some clamps to clamp those side to side. Get some bigger ones here. I seem to have misplaced one of these. I've got several of these. I seem to have misplaced one. Okay, I know this is going to leave a mark, but I will be able to sand that mark off pretty easily. I mean, this is maple and it won't. There we go. All right. So, again, this is my clock. I'll know when things are cured, when this is hard. Nice thing about these cups, these come from, I buy these at I get all this stuff from Chesapeake Lightcraft up in Annapolis, and I'll leave a link in the description. The nice things about these cups is epoxy won't stick to them. So once it's hardened, you tip it upside down and give it a bang, and the cured epoxy just pops right out of it. So you get multiple uses in these cups. And there we go. Now we wait. Well, there you go. It's fixed. It's rocking. I'm going to do a short video on the finish because that's going to take a little bit of time to suss out. So this is going to end this series of repairing Great Grandpa's chair, rocking chair. Like I said, we'll do another short video on putting the finish on because I have to experiment with that a little bit. So until my next project, which is going to be a bit of a surprise, I think. I'll announce it in a later video. Make great things out of wood and find a nice piece of furniture to restore.